Hello and welcome everyone. I am Shivangi Dhawan. Today, we will be discussing about the discounting technique. In our last videos, we discussed about compounding technique and discussed several cases. Similarly, in the discounting technique, we will be discussing 5 important cases. What is discounting or present value technique? Discounting technique is used to make cash flows occurring over different future periods comparable at the present time. So, in this technique, present worth of future cash flows are calculated. The present value approach or technique works exactly reverse of the compounding technique. So, discounting is the process of finding the present value of a cash flow or a series of cash flows, and it is very understandable that discounting is the reverse of compounding. Today, in this video, we will be discussing 5 cases. That is, how to calculate present value of a future sum, present value of a series of unequal cash flows, present value of a series of equal cash flows or annuity, present value of an annuity due, and present value of perpetuity. Okay. Let's start with the very first case, that is present value of a future sum. Here, the first thing, the important thing that you all are required to know, that there is a built-in present value function in Excel spreadsheets, which demands 5 particular items in its syntax. That is rate, number of periods, PMT, future value, and type, where rate is rate of interest given in the question, NPER is number of periods for an investment based on interest rate, PMT is used in case of constant payments to be made and a constant rate of interest is given to you, FV is future value of the investment, type can be 0 or 1 depending upon the time at which you are making the payment or the payment is made. That is, if payment made at the end of the period, type will be 0. And if payment made at the beginning of the period, that is, it is an kind of annuity due, then type will be 1. Now let's start with the first case, that is present value of a future sum. Here's the problem. Mr. X is supposed to get rupees 10,000 after 3 years. Let the existing rate of interest is 10%. Find the present value of this sum. Now, let's solve this. First thing is to write down the critical data, that is the important points given to us in the question. We have been given future value, that is 10,000, years 3. So automatically, as compounding is annually, we get our NPER as 3 and rate is 10%. So it's very easy to calculate this. Just you need to activate the PV function, that is the built-in present value function. And you can see B17 is the rate, B16 is the number of period, 0 is PMT, nothing is given to us about the constant payments. Future value is 10,000 and we have inserted a negative sign in order to get a positive value. We always put a negative sign in front of the future value in the built-in function. Alternatively, if the future value is not given to us and PMT is given in the question, we insert negative sign in front of the PMT so that we get a positive value. Then type is 0. If the question is silent on whether the it's annuity, ordinary annuity or annuity due, you take type 0 by default and click on enter. And you will get your answer as 7,513 rupees approximately as your present value in this problem. Okay. Moving on to the next phase, that is present value of a series of unequal cash flows. Means that we are given number of years and the cash flows in those years are unequal. For example, in this question, Mr. X has to receive a sum of rupees 10,000, 5,000 and 2,000 at the end of first, second and third year. Calculate with the help of Excel the present value of his future cash flows from this investment proposal if the rate of interest is 10%. So firstly, you will write down the rate of interest 10%, year 1, 2, 3, cash inflows 10,000, 5,000, 2,000, the critical data that is given to you. Now you need to calculate the total present value. So for that purpose, the present value of the first, second, third will be calculated individually using built-in present value function. And then you will be using some function to total them up. So here individually, we have included the PV function. So you can see it here. I will just zoom it a little so that the visibility is better. So here, PV, you started the present value function. Rate is 10%. That is E27. And why we have used dollar sign? So dollar sign just before the column and the row will fix this rate. And when you drag it down, this rate will be same in all the cases. So NPR for this particular value is 1, that is first year. Then PMT is nothing here. And we are given the future value as minus 10,000. We are inserting the negative sign in order to get the positive value. Nothing is mentioned about this, though it is given that it is end of the first year. So we are taking 0. By default, it will also be 0. And click enter. And once you do this, you have to drag this down till here and you will get your answer. And once you drag it down and you get all the values for first, second and third year, you can use some function and select the whole range in order to add these values of first, second and third year to get your answer as 14,725 rupees as the total present value for Mr. X. Alternatively, there's another interesting function in Excel spreadsheet, a built-in function that will help you in calculating the total present value. That is the net present value function. So here, if I zoom a little, you may be able to see that how this function makes your life so easy. So is equal to NPV. NPV is the function. Start the bracket to activate this function. And here it asks you two things only, that is the rate and the values. Values are basically the cash inflows it is asking about. So rate is your 10% and values is from 10,000 to 2,000. You have selected the whole range. Close the bracket and enter and you will be getting the same answer that you calculated earlier based on individual calculation using present value function for each of the given cash inflows. Okay, then the next case is case third, that is present value of a series of equal cash flows, that is present value of an annuity. Now, this is a very important part where we will be discussing that how to calculate present value for an ordinary annuity and when the annuity is due. So for that purpose, in the last video where we discussed about the compounding technique, we studied in detail that what is the difference between ordinary annuity and annuity due. You may refer those videos for understanding the concept of annuity, due, and ordinary annuity. Basically, they are based upon the time at which the payment is made. If it's at the end, it is ordinary annuity. If it's at the beginning, then it is annuity due. Now, in this case, Mr. X wishes to calculate the present value of the annuity consisting of a cash inflow of rupees 10,000 per year for 3 years. The rate of interest he can earn is 10%. Critical data that is given to you is future value 0, year 3, NPER 3, rate 10% and PMT 10,000. Now here, future value is not given to you. They are saying that each year there is an inflow of 10,000. So you are having a constant payment. So that's why you have included 10,000 in the PMT critical data. So by using the present value function, just like the way we did in the earlier questions, we will get our answer. Just that rate will be 10%, number of periods will be 3, PMT now will be 10,000, our future value will be 0, and our type will also be 0, as it is the case of ordinary annuity. If the question is silent, we will always treat type as 0, that is ordinary annuity. So enter. This is the case where the present value of annuity is calculated. Now, what is present value of annuity due? So when you can see in the question, Mr. X has to receive an amount of rupees 10,000 in the beginning of next 3 year. Beginning. So where the word beginning is there, you should understand that it is a concept of annuity due. So from now, from a sum of invested at 10% rate of interest, find the present value of the sum invested. So we need to calculate present value of an annuity due. So here critical data is future value is not given to us. Years are 3. Number of period is 3 as compounding is annual. Rate is 10%. PMT is 10,000 as we are having a constant payment, equal payment of 10,000 at the beginning of next 3 years. So present value of annuity due will be calculated just like the way we calculated present value of an ordinary annuity. Just you need to replace type 0 with type 1. That's it. So here your rate will be 10%. Number of period will be 3. Then PMT is 10,000. You have inserted the negative sign. Please don't forget that. Otherwise, you get the negative answer. Future value is 0 and type is 1, as it is the case of annuity due. So you can see here for type 0 end of the period and 1 beginning of the period. So just insert 1 and enter and you will get your answer. I hope this is understandable. Now, the last case under the discounting technique, that is present value of a perpetuity. Now, a perpetuity is basically defined as an infinite series of equal cash flows occurring at regular time intervals. So, an individual may be interested in finding out the present value of his investment if he wishes to get a constant return at regular interval of time. So the perpetuity concept is quite useful in finding out the sum of money to be set aside for giving scholarships or awards of equal amount year after year, where we don't know where it is ending. We don't know the end of it. Okay. So perpetuity is quite useful when you are setting aside the amount of scholarships and awards for an educational institution. This type of annuity continues for an infinite period of time. So that is the difference between annuity and a perpetuity. Perpetuity is something continuous, something perpetual. So the present value of perpetuity can be calculated using this formula. So the formula for calculating present value of perpetuity is A divided by R, where A is the amount or the equal cash flow per period or annuity, and R is the rate of interest per period, where if we separate the formula A into 1 by R, 1 by R will be present value interest factor of a perpetuity, right? So here is a question. Mr. X, a wealthy businessman, wants to institute a scholarship of rupees 10,000 per annum for an outstanding academic performance in an educational institution. He wants to know the sum of money he has to invest at 10% rate of interest so that it yields rupees 10,000 per annum in perpetuity. So the question directly asking you to calculate the present value of the perpetuity. You are having the critical data of annuity as 10,000 and rate of interest as 10%. So present value of perpetuity is very simple to calculate. That is, you just need to divide your annuity amount by your rate. So 10,000 divided by 10%, this will give you 1 lakh as your present value of perpetuity, which means Mr. X is required to invest rupees 1 lakh for an annual cash award of rupees 10,000 if invested at 10% per annum rate of interest. So I hope all the 5 cases of discounting technique or present value technique are clear to you. In our future videos, we will be discussing more concepts and more questions related to TVM. So we will also be understanding the use of PMT function. We will be doing certain comprehensive question where you will be using present value, future value, NPV, and some functions in a single question. So thank you for watching.